GB member, past chairperson Flo Jaypore, and a sports person who represented India in International Badminton Championship in 2019. Welcome one and all present over here. My is the women empowerment is directly related to economic empowerment. And there is an entrepreneur in each and every woman. Hereby, reach you all with the great initiative, which is to support and promote distress artisans. Adding to this event, there is a diamond whom we all know. I welcome Ms. Vasundhara Raje Scindia. She is an Indian politician currently serving as National Vice President of Bharatiya Janata Party and also hold the position of Chief Minister of Rajasthan 2 times, 5-time Member of Parliament and 5-time MLA. With career spanning almost 35 years, Vasundhara Raje ji has emerged as one of the most tallest female politicians in India. A global ambassador for Rajasthan, she hails from a royal families of Gwalior and Bhag. She derives much of her inspiration from her mother, late Rajmata Vijaya Raje Scindia ji, the founding member of BJP. In 2007, she received Women Together Award by UNO for services rendered towards self-empowerment of women. In her tenure of work, women empowerment in Rajasthan took a great boost. I am positive this session will serve as a Bible for women looking to shatter the glass ceiling. Now I invite Ms. Janvi Phukan. She is 37th National President for FICCI Flow and the first Flow President from India's Northeast. Ms. Janvi is an entrepreneur and co-founder of 2 National Tourism Award-winning companies. Bengal Navigation. We also have here with us Ms. Neha Chordia. She is the founder and director of Dignity, board member of Color Marketing Group of USA, and founder organizer of we have with us none other than our own past national president of FICCI Flow, Ms. Neha Chordia. She was the 31st national president and first from Rajasthan and founder chairperson of Flow Jaypore chapter. She is executive committee member of SAT Chamber of Women Entrepreneurs Council in India. Now I invite Ms. Neha Chordia for her welcome address. Neha ji, over to you.
Yes. Thank you, Alka ji, for that wonderful introduction for all our special guests today. It's so lovely to have Vasundhara Raje ji with us today, Janvi Phukan with us, and the All India, Pan-India members, and this beautiful virtual audience. Thank you so much, Alka, for that wonderful introduction to everyone. गुलाबी शहर जयपुर से आप सभी का अभिवादन, अभिनंदन. Happy to see you all virtually in these special pandemic times. Flow, as everyone already knows, is South Asia's oldest chamber of business and commerce, with 17 chapters pan-India and more than 8,000 members. As a woman entrepreneur myself, a jeweler, I believe nothing empowers a woman more than her own money in her pocket. Women empowerment is directly related to economic empowerment. Sashakt Mahila, Sashakt Samaj, Sashakt Desh, Atmanirbhar Bharat are directly related. As the president of Flow, we did concentrated efforts towards skill training of women and young girls. Knowledge is power. And towards that, may I inform Vasundhara Raje ji especially that we published, as the national president of Flow, I published this book on laws affecting women in India. It has got all the laws related to a woman right from inside her womb to her last rites. And it is a colorful document, as you can see, with each and every right of her right here, right under in one compilation. This ready reckoner has proved to be very useful to everyone. And we've had repeated requests to have them in all the languages also. Very good. Today is the launch of Flow and Creative Dignity's joint initiative to support artisans, to make them Atmanirbhar. And to launch this, we have with us a true champion of women's rights, a woman who walks the talk, an inspiration to all of us, Srimati Vasundhara Raje ji Scindia. Indeed, we are very, very happy to have you here with us. She has been extremely supportive to FICCI Flow right from its launch in 2008, 14 years ago. And all my chairpersons, the past chairpersons, remember how wonderfully benevolent she has been towards Flow. So we come to this launch. Handloom industry is a valuable skill resource. It has minimal use of capital and power. It's environment friendly. It is very flexible. There's a scope for innovation, and it can be a huge growth driver for women to join India's economic workforce. With this interest and this effect in mind, our president, Janvi Phukan, the first national president from the Northeast, has taken up this onus, such a crucial intervention in these pandemic times. Congratulations, Janvi. Her focus is on sustainability, which is undoubtedly the need of the hour. And this would be a solution to recovery and resilience. And what challenging times they are facing because of this. But yes, as true champions, they've made the most of this virtual world. Janvi and her entire team has been wonderfully rocking the entire nation. We've been witnessing such wonderful, innovative work by her and all her chapter chairpersons, one better than the other. I can see Malu from Mumbai, and I can see Usha from Hyderabad. I can see many more, but these I can see directly. So a big hello and a hug to all of you. And also, as a president, past president of Flow, when I look at where Flow is today, I feel proud that Flow has been able to build a formidable network of motivated and talented women leaders. They rock and they shine all around. A big hello and a shout to all my past chairpersons of Flow Jaypore. Again, I can see Minal there and Alka Batra very much there. A big hi to all of you. With these words, thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity. और अंत में हम यही कहेंगे कि ये तो एक प्रयास है आज, परंतु ये हमको लगातार ये प्रयास करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि श्रम के पौधे पर सफलता के फूल खिलते हैं. सिर्फ श्रम हमको करना है, हम सबको वो प्रयास करना है. हमें एक फोकस के साथ जो आज एक बेड़ा उठाया है जानवी फूकन ने और क्रिएटिव डिग्निटी को, उसको हम सबको आत्मसात करना है, उसको सक्सेसफुल बनाना है. दैट इज व्हाट वी ऑल नीड टू प्लेज टुडे. थैंक यू सो मच. ओवर टू यू अलका. थैंक यू.
थैंक यू वेरी मच चिंता जी. आपका सुनकर हमें जोश आ गया बहुत ज्यादा. और ऑफ कोर्स देयर आर थ्री पावर हाउसेस आर देयर टुगेदर, यू वसुंधरा जी एंड जानवी जी. सो बहुत ही हम लोगों को अपनी एनर्जी फील हो रही है. Anyways, coming to the next, now we have Latika Khosla ji with us. I have already introduced Latika ji, and she is after all these design initiative. I would like Latika ji to please give us brief about this initiative. Over to you, Latika ji.
Namaste. I'm here to talk to you about FICCI Flow's association with Creative Dignity, a cause that I'm closely associated with as a volunteer. The Creative Dignity movement itself is a movement of volunteers, and it's fired the imagination of the best professionals, whether they've been producers, artisans ho, state ke NGOs ho, ke sector experts, design practitioners of students. Bahut simple approach hai. The whole idea is, how do we first give relief and then rehabilitation and rejuvenation to the artisan? Artisans want work. They don't want charity or handouts. And a few months ago, when ground research was done, it showed that the karigars were without access to raw materials. They had piled up stocks. उनकी ना तो robust markets थी, festivals का नामो निशान नहीं, events नहीं हो रहे हैं, और इस वजह से कोई continuing orders or sales नहीं होने वाला था. The future seemed bleak. This, a watershed moment, allowed us to think, how do we integrate these keepers of craft and enable them to participate into digital futures? In August, Artisan Direct started with a Gujarat campaign to manage stock sales via e-commerce. Partnerships with 4 amazing premier websites gave a platform to boost this movement of stock. You know, when we can't get to a marketplace or touch or feel products, haath nahi laga sakte, we can't engage with the maker, we have to rely on the image. So we are ever grateful to the Gujarat chapter of Fiki Flow, to Rupa and Reshma Patel, who personally engaged and sponsored the photography and made this first step happen. Creative Dignity's professional team of volunteers, the state heads, the organizations, design schools, and Rajasthan's Craft Institute students overnight all helped in cataloging the photography and calibrated the pricing, the creatives, and the media planning. Fiki also helped to spread this good news through its massive network, which you've just talked about. And because of that support, today, in just a month, Artisan Direct is gratefully able to go national with Flow. Pan-India, states and artisans are participating in what will be launched today, and an increased number of partner websites who also work along with this entire group of artisans and enablers in the most transparent manner. Nothing will give us the best example of this unless we hear it from the words of the artisan. और आप सबको देख के मुझे राजी बेन के words याद आ रहे हैं, जिनकी आंखों में आंसू थे. And she said, इतनी सारी नारी शक्ति देख के मेरे को लगता है कि हम आगे ही बढ़ेंगे. And another very savvy artisan literally wrote the new rules for the 3 P's of economics. He said, अगले बारी हमें ये भी सीखना है कि हम और अच्छी फोटोग्राफी कैसे करें, हम प्राइसिंग कैसे करें ताकि हम लोग भी अपना स्टॉक ठीक से कुरियर कर सकें, और हमको अगले चांस मिलना चाहिए to pick the online partners, pricing, photography, and picking. The equality with which they were imagined that this platform is giving them. With miles to go before we sleep, we fittingly are on the cusp of the new year 2021 that has been declared by the United Nations as the year of a creative economy. And who better to take us there but these masters of their craft, who we always want to call creative manufacturers. Thank you.
Thank you, Latika ji, for giving us insight about all these artisans and all. Now I would like to invite our most dynamic and beautiful National President Janvi Phukan to please come and address us.
Thank you.
Janvi ji, over to you.
Yes. So namaste. A warm welcome to all on the launch of Flow Creative Dignity Initiative to support and promote distressed artisans. We have with us Srimati Vasundhara Raje Scindia, National President BJP and former Chief Minister of Rajasthan. Srimati Scindia ji, I'm honored to welcome you on behalf of Flow and the 17 chapters that I represent as the National President. An astute political leader, you are known for your huge contribution to the development of the state of Rajasthan. You, ma'am, are the first woman to be the Chief Minister, to be the woman Chief Minister of Rajasthan. In recognition of your work towards empowering women in the state, especially by promoting self-help groups and facilitating the establishment of the microcredit programs, the United Nations conferred its Women Together Award in 2007 to you. Your promotion to the cause of the handloom product and your contribution to products of the Kota, Doria, and to Khadi, the promotion of Khadi has been globally recognized. So it is of great significance to us that we have you in our midst today as we wish to inaugurate Flow and Creative Dignity's Artisans Direct campaign to support and promote the distressed artisans across the country. The handloom industry is the largest cottage industry in India, generating direct and indirect employment of over 3 million weavers. According to the 4th All India Handloom Census 2019-2020, there are over 3.5 million handloom workers, and allied workers about 24% of the overall. And we find that the majority, that means 2.3 million of the handloom workers are female, and they mainly belong to the 18 to 35 years age group. And this sector, like many others, but this sector in particular has been so badly impacted in the pandemic, with their traditional and contemporary markets totally closed. And as we know, it has left our millions stranded with no access to raw materials, to the market, or even to basic sustenance. And Flow, as the women's wing of FICCI, we should work towards empowerment of women. For the last 37 years, this is a very responsible and cause that we needed to go for. Before this, let me mention that with having the 37 years that Flow has been here, our past president, Neha Chordia, who spoke to us, has been the one who set up the Jaypore chapter, she was the only president who set up 3 chapters, in fact, Jaipur, Pune, and Indore in her tenure, and all are robust entities. Besides the fact that Neetaji also makes exquisite jewelry and has been the national president from Rajasthan, we think that with all these great past presidents we've had with us, and what I have come from the Northeast as the first president from Northeast, I had come with my vision about sustainable practices and sustainable livelihoods for women, economic empowerment. That was my first thought. And coming from where I do, the handloom is so much part of our lives. Handloom and agriculture go side by side for the women of the Northeast. So with that, when we saw the opportunity being provided by Creative Dignity and the great work that they're doing and the way they've envisaged the whole situation, and with the ground knowledge that they have, it was imperative for us to join hands. And together with Creative Dignity now, we envisage this platform to recognize our rich heritage of handloom, to bring sustainability spot on, and bring to light the women behind these handloom, the unsung women artisans who don't get their due. And now in pandemic times, this is the best time than ever before to recognize that the handloom industry is the model of sustainable livelihood. Like tourism, that is another industry that I come from. These are industries and these are sustainable livelihoods which will run the test of time if we can make that happen. So with that, we have in this first batch that we're doing, the first stage that we're starting today, inaugurating, we understand we are empowering artisans from West Bengal, Rajasthan, UP, Madhya Pradesh, Delhi, Puducherry, Kerala, and Bihar. We want to give the artisans access to the market, and we have a Flow 8,000 women marketplace there, as well as the community beyond. And we hope to work side by side to learn more as we go along and see how we can improve this and be well positioned to learn from this, adapt, and see how best we can add value, and we can see that our distressed artisans get the right price that they give. We eliminate the middleman. We see that the money goes directly into the women's hands. And like Latika Khosla, who the design director of Freedom Tree, it's a color and trend studio based in Mumbai, who's been a mentor for this initiative. It's been a great learning. It will be a great learning for all of us at Flow to associate with Creative Dignity and take this larger passion forward. So with that, Honorable Chief Guest, Srimati Vasundhara Raje Scindia ji, as a token of our appreciation, gratitude, we would like to present a virtual memento to you. May I ask IT to share it on the screen, please? Now, after that, we will run a small video. IT. Yes. This would be the virtual memento. Which we will see that goes to Vasundharaji's physical place in due course. But are we taking a little time with this? And after that, we would like to run a short video, very small video. This is some network issue. Okay.
Let's do the video then.
Okay, we are here. If are you seeing it, or am I the one having the problem? Okay, right. Right. Thank you. Vasundhara-ji, a small memento from our side, from Flow. Right. Next, can I ask IT to play the video, please? Thank you. May I now request our chief guest, Srimati Raje to please address us. We are all waiting in Flow and Creative Dignity to listen to you.
So, Jahnavi ji, the national president of Flow, and my friends, Neeta ji, who was the past president of Flow, Batra ji, all the past presidents and friends, and Latika ji, who, if I remember rightly, I think somebody from the organization was also present at our Crafts Council, if I'm not mistaken. But I am today really delighted to see that Flow is undertaking this terrific initiative, and especially at this very important time. I know of this particularly because I have been very closely connected with artisans in distress. Was one of the things that we looked at when I came first to Rajasthan. We have in Rajasthan a huge capability to become a global leader in crafts and textiles. And during my time as Chief Minister, we worked extensively with industry experts, including FICCI, to see how we could actually move these ahead. Because as Latika ji said, they're really looking for work. They don't want charity. They never did, because they really believe they have it in their hands. If the opportunity is given, they would do a very good job. So it was the case of actually empowering our artisans. And it was one of the pegs on which we created our governance model. One of the things that we launched, and as you said, as Neeta ji said also at this moment, there are during this pandemic so many difficult things that people have to go through. We go through. You can imagine what the artisans must be going through.
Yes.
All those extremely wonderful programs that used to be held in various states have come to naught. I mean, they've really all wound down. So as a result, there is nowhere for them to go. So this, your Creative Dignities initiative to support these artisans is absolutely at the right time. And it will give a platform for local artisans to collaborate with designers and basically be able to showcase not only their craft, but to be able to take it ahead and maybe even sell it. This was something that was a dream at that time for me, almost 8 years ago. But it required a pandemic to start it off. I hope that the benefits of this go right down to those who are at that village level. We did do something called Rajasthan Heritage Week, as some of you may know, and I think some of you attended. We also used this platform basically to rebrand Khadi. It was a very important part of Indian culture. And I thought that Khadi needed to get, to be able to get back on its feet. And since I managed to serve as Union Minister in charge at that time of Khadi, and then again I had this opportunity in Rajasthan, I felt it was very important that we strengthen our artisans this way. So whether it was working in the village of Kaithun, or whether it was at the border of Barmer, whether it was sourcing local materials, whether it was the Kota Doria or the Khadi or the cotton or the mull, basically even promoting the chapai, what they call the printing, block printing in Bagru and Sanganer, we tried to leave no stone unturned to get this done. And then we brought on board people like Prasad Bidappa, there was B.B. Russell, there were so many other designers and artists who came to work with Rajasthan to help our artisans. And in 5 years, we actually were able to do quite a lot. It was just the beginning. I believe we could have done a lot more. But when I first came to Rajasthan, I have to tell you that I found that the situation of women was pretty bleak. It's as you know, a very feudal society. And in this very feudal society, to make women the center point of anything actually can be quite troublesome. When you think of Rajasthan, you think there's this picture, and you think of the man walking ahead with striding ahead, and there's this picture of the woman standing behind him with a potli on her head, walking 3 steps behind him. This is the picture that one used to get of Rajasthan. I believe that while our traditions and our heritage have done great things for Rajasthan, and also probably one of our strong points, they have also been in some way or the other one of our weaknesses, because our women have not necessarily been given the best opportunities to access resources and then be able to actually sell what they produce in the market. But when given half the chance, I thought they did actually as well as the men. So when I visited these places where the traditional work was actually being supported by government, and I found how beautifully they'd done it and how well they designed it with a little bit of help, you could see that given half the chance, they were doing wonderful things that perhaps they'd never been given the opportunity to do. So women shattered glass ceilings and actually bent on proving their worth. Today, if you look, you can see leading businesses there. They're succeeding as entrepreneurs. They are dominating their field. They are now seasoned professionals. And I'll just give a few examples to you from what the women that, that as you see them have been able to do. Payal Jangir actually in Rajasthan is a teenager who was honored with the Changemaker Award by Bill and Melinda Gates for her campaign against child labor and child marriage, which, as you know, is a big thing, which is a major problem for us here. Manju Devi was the first woman porter. She comes from Jaypore, of the Northwest Railway. A very male-dominated field. I don't think anyone ever thought that a woman can become a coolie, but she did do it, and she's done a great job of it. Then in Barmer, which is the border area, we have women like Ruma Devi, who has actually managed to showcase, and she's a woman from the area, from the villages. She's actually showcased her works at the Fashion Week in London, in Germany, in Singapore, and in Colombo. It's fantastic. I mean, really, she's on magazine covers. And we have also got something called Solar Sahelis in one of our districts, but they not only retail, but also repair solar devices. Then we have master welders, women, in the JCB factory representing the Made in Rajasthan brand. There was a time when we had my mother and that age group all behind the ghungat. It was a practice that my mother actually was able to shatter and helped us, made like us, go to schools and learn to stand on our feet to raise our voices. So, coming from a royal family, she also campaigned with the people. She challenged society, and she was hugely important for us for creating change. But she still managed to remain a woman, elegant and modest and beautiful. Over the years with government and within government, I have actually been able to work with many valued colleagues just now in Parliament. And they too have left their own very, very important and indelible mark on the way those areas and those societies have moved ahead. As Chief Minister, I had the privilege of working with many strong women officers who were prompt, proper, and tough, and were able to walk side by side with their male counterparts. I always believe that there are certain advantages of being a woman in a position of leadership. And so, despite the challenges of government, we needed to work to see what we could do for the women. And unless you make women responsible and bring them out front, it becomes very difficult for us to be able to leave that mark. So basically, 50% reservation for women at the lowest rung, which was the Panchayat Raj institutions. What exactly is the role that we perform when we are in a home? Whether it's the agony aunt, or whether it's keeping the family together, or whether it's basically being a sounding board for ideas, it's really a role which is no more different than running a business or actually even governance. So it was important to bring women out and make them understand that the position that they hold is not because of anybody or anything, but because of themselves and the importance that they themselves hold within their own family circles. So to give prominence to those women in the house, we used a program called the Bhamasha Yojana. And at that time, I must tell you all that in 2006, 2007, there were actually no idea of cards, of using cards like we do in at the village level. So to use a card to make the woman the most important member of the family, to put money into her bank account, to make her stand on her feet, and to actually be it was the first state to bring digitizations of this sort into the woman's hand. Through Bhamasha, we managed to empower the women and make them the solid heads of the family with financial entitlements which were transferred to their names. That was one very major program. And of course, it has helped women to come out and to be able to do business. Then we named the most important low budget meal program that went out to all the poor people, the Ma Annapurna scheme. Again, we wanted to bring that to women. This government, of course, has recast the scheme and relaunched it. But again, try as they might, they still ended up with a woman. So now it is called the Indira Gandhi scheme for food. So it doesn't really matter from Ma Annapurna to Indira Gandhi. It still is a woman. Then it is important that we actually take or make an effort. And this is what I will ask all of you to do. Some of you have involved yourselves in it. But the scheme is of transforming school education. How many of us can join governments in transforming school education? I found that there were a lot of women and a lot of organizations that would work with us to transform this most important focus area. And to see to it that we were able to increase female enrollment, because unless the girl child studies, there's no way that she's going to be able to earn her place in society. So we launched many schemes by which we hope that the young girls would remain in school, because there is a period in which they go back home. So as youngsters, they are with us. As older children, they come back to us. But in between, as they are going through puberty, their parents take them back home. They say it is to actually uh, make them learn housework. But I think that this is a very important period of time which needs actually for the child to be in school. So by rewarding them with things like scooties, by giving them cycles, by giving them laptops and scholarships, we impacted them enough to bring Rajasthan from the 26th spot to the second spot in school education. And this was not just government alone. It was a whole gamut of people working together, which is again why I'm saying to you and suggesting to you that perhaps you could do this with various governments, your own governments, so that there was a rise in the number of female students graduating. Then there were things like the Rajashri Yojana, which we used to change the mindset of the rural area, where the girl is considered a burden. And it's very important that the girl not be considered a burden, because there was a time long, long ago when people said that girl childs were done away with, eliminated. Through this scheme, the government bears the financial burden. Again, government and organizations outside government also worked with us to see that the financial responsibility of the girl child would be taken up by the government and them till the time from the time she's born till the time she graduates, which was a very big deal. We also went a step further for the workers, laborers. Their girl child, if that girl child were to study or to set up their own business, they would be able to access loans up to the tune of 55,000. So that more and more of these came on board. And most importantly, it was something called the Bhamasha Techno Fund, which we started for startups with a special provision to head startups, to support startups which were headed by women. This was a very, very successful initiative while it lasted until the government was there. And it also helped the economic encouragement and empowerment of women in a big way. To this, we joined dairy cooperatives at the rural level. And we also introduced that milk into the midday meal scheme, so that a lot of this milk could get back into the school system and also fill the pockets of the women. Most importantly, at the end of it all, we thought it was important to provide sanitary napkins to women free of cost, so that it becomes a huge initiative that people will not be embarrassed about. And that would be one of the reasons why these children go back home, would now continue to stay with us through their school period. I tried to make an effort while as a chief minister to, organize it such that there was in no way, their voice was in no way brought down. I tried to be their voice. And because as a woman in power, you know how difficult it is and how many struggles it took to get where you are. Because normally people look at me and say, oh, but you were born with a golden spoon in your mouth. There was never a point where you would run through problems or you would have to break through a glass ceiling. But let me tell you one thing, all of you, it wasn't as easy as you think. And for all of us, we've had to struggle. So whether it's me, whether it's you, or whether it's them at the lower level, everybody, if you're a woman, has had to struggle to get to where they are. And I know how judgmental people could be, what their attitudes were, the kind of challenges that you would need to face, and the vilification. You saw what happened to Jayalalitha. I mean, at that point, the kind of vilification that you have to be or be able to actually take if you want to make it as a woman in a man's field, I think is known to most of us. So it's very important that being graceful, being proper, and that's being part of a hallmark of being a woman. And even though it has its own faults, I think it's important that we try to be able to bear with things like malice and character assassination and fictitious incidents that get attributed to you. I'll give you some examples. There was a very famous thing when I became chief minister first, this is now almost 20 years ago. So what, I was about 40 something. And at that point in time, I remember when I came in, they voted me in. But then there were all these people who said, 8 p.m., no CM. This became a really famous line over there. I thought to myself, that is really strange that one has to go through this. This would not be a line that, it would not be a line that would be used for a male. So why would it be a line that should be used for a female? And let me tell you one more thing, that if, for example, if by any chance I had allowed people to walk into my house in the late hours, beyond a reasonable point of time, I can see how many more tongues would have been wagging. Because as a rule, we never finished work at 8 o'clock. We worked till 10, 10:30, and we used to come back home late because there was just so much to do. But the kind of vilification, the kind of talk that they have in what they call the men's locker room conversation, all those things, even a person of chief minister rank would have had to take. So if we had to go through that, I can imagine how many things would have had to, so many ordinary people have to go through to get to where they are. So it's actually difficult for a woman in a public space. To negotiate this, you need a lot of calm, you need some poise, and you certainly need a strength of character. So as I said, at this point in time, we may shatter every glass ceiling. We may rise above every odds that we face. We may become a force to be reckoned with, or whatever. But if we want to change the status quo, guys, then really we must become champions of change and soldier on till we have more voice and more access. So when I see the women scripting her own success, I do feel a great sense of pride. And therefore, this particular topic of yours, where you're talking just about artisans, and I'm wanting to bring in education along with it, until we are able to strengthen women at every level, we will not be in a position to make them strong enough to face the world as it is. A lot of us, and a lot of things have changed in the last 20 years, but a lot of things have to change. And I think that we are finally on the path to giving our future generations an equal representation in society. But we still have a long way to go. And I'm sure that all of us, especially with organizations like yours, if we persevere, we will be able to make it. So I would like to just close saying that I have and I should always discriminate in favor of women. And frankly, when somebody asks me about it, I would say I would be very proud to discriminate in favor of women. I think it's time for all of us to get up and have our voices heard. And we're second to none. That much I can say. We have the grit, we have the determination, and we have the ability. And there are a lot of us right across all these states and right across this country. And I believe that if we join hands, we are in a position to change the lives and fortunes of all those people who are not as fortunate as some of us. So this is a wonderful opportunity you've given me, that I have been able to interact not just with those of Rajasthan, but that I have actually been able to reach out as far as the Northeast. And that Janvi ji is here with us today. Janvi ji, I just wanted to tell you that I am also in a strange way related to the Northeast because my sister was married into Tripura.
Of course,
So,
I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So far away as that, I am able to reach out and let me give you a big hug and tell you that I'm so proud to see you sitting there. I know that you people are going to be able to change the fortunes because actually you're the women who did it much before any one of us did.
Yes,
it's a female dominated society.
Yes.
And they need to ask you first before they do anything.
Yes.
So I think that it's the right time. You're where you are. And I'm sure that under your very able guidance, all of us are going to be able to do our very little bit, our little grain of sand, to help all those women who need our help and to whom we can stretch out our hands and work together with. I'm sure it will work. Thank you so much for having me here with you today. It's been so lovely. And I really enjoyed being part of this program of Restoring Lives and Livelihoods. Thank you so much, Janvi ji, for having me. Thank you, Neeta ji. Thank all of you from Flow. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity today.
Yeah, Vasundhara ma'am, if you allow us, we can have few questions from our members.
You're absolutely welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Okay. So Vasundhara ji, will we take some questions? And thank you so
Yeah.
much. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I will speak with you since we're short of time. Who is coming on? We would like to ask.
Can I ask?
No, I think our Jaypore chapter chair Vandana wanted to ask first, and then to you, Rupa. Vandana of our chapter chair Jaypore. Vandana Harnami. Go ahead.
This is a very powerful woman panel, and I thank National President BJP and former CM Rajasthan Madam Vasundhara Raje for her insights, our dynamic President Vicky Flo, Ms. Janvi Fukan for her compassion for artisans of India, Ms. Neeta Buchra, founder chairperson Flo Jaypore, Indore, Pune, past National President Vicky Flo from Rajasthan, GB member and past chairperson Flo Jaypore, Ms. Latika, and everyone present here. Namaskar to all of you. So coming back to my question to Madam Vasundhara ji, urban women, especially those holding positions, are empowered. How and what all they can do to empower women at grassroots level?
Vandana ji, there's only one way. I think it's most important to first start to educate those people. And if you're in government, the most important thing is to go right down to the bottom level and see that every girl child that you can catch is actually educated. Because giving her that education means giving her the freedom to be actually able to step out onto a stage, whether it's the local, the national, or even the world stage, like Ruma has done. But I'm saying that organizations like yours are also doing a wonderful job by giving them platforms through which they can showcase what they have and be able to actually enter the economic cycle. This is something that I think is also very important. But if you don't educate, there is no way. If education level of women is going to remain at 33%, then you can forget about it. Until we bring them to that 70s, 80% that we're working at, unless we are able to do that. And by the way, I want to tell you all, there are a lot of women. I mean, like Rajasthan, in the last 2 terms, in the last 10 years, we've been able to bring to the second position as education for women. But for a long time, we were at 30 to 40, 45%. And that is not good enough for us. Because it's only through education that they can actually understand what are the opportunities that are laid out before you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, can we have Reshma Patel from Ahmedabad, the governing body member, Reshma Patel. Go on, Reshma.
Thank you, Vasundhara Raje ji. What a lovely insights you've given us today. I'd like to, because it's a burning issue right now, is the artisans are our artisans are the backbone of our heritage. And how can we sensitize the creative dignity movement to a huge reach at such grave times? And how, of course, Flow is going to do its bit, but how will the government also, how do you think we can reach out? Because if we are losing them, a lot of them are committing suicide and the stocks are not moving. So how do we,
first of all,
revive that?
Rupa ji,
Yes.
First of all, Rupa ji, it's a very important subject. And it was something that we were worried about even before the pandemic hit. Because once the pandemic hit, then lots more avenues closed down. But before the pandemic hit, even then, as you very well know, getting the artisans out and about was not an easy task. There were a lot of people working in small areas, but to bring them out onto a platform, for that, we had to do all these, the Heritage Week, we had to bring all these new things so that we are able to bring these people to be able to sell. Lots of melas were held across the state so that we were able to, and then we even funded them to go out to others. But now you can't do all of that. So the only way to do it is online.
Yeah.
And I remember at that time we were talking about online and how is this going to happen. And B.B. Russell had come from Bangladesh to work with us. And we were working on this. And that platform never happened. There was a platform that was working in a few places in Bombay, for example, and there were others across the country. But today, because of this pandemic, everybody is online. So now this has become the way of the world. There is no other way. We're going to have to do all these shows online. We're going to be able to, we're going to have to display our wares online. But meanwhile, governments have to be able to subsidize and support these organizations that help them, and also those who are the artisans. So the facilities that were given for the artisans, for example, a common design center, a common area where they can meet and work, a common area where looms can be set up, like we did in Kaithun, in Kota, or like we've done in Barmer. Those kind of things will have to be subsidized by the government. Women will have to be given short courses on even online or whatever it is, because before we used to do it face to face, but now you can do it online. They have to be taught so that they can get on with that, their business there. And design has to be shown, colors, design, all this has to be shown to them. And then they have to be, well, actually shown how to market it. So all this is going to have to be done, but we have to subsidize them financially as governments. Banks have to be able to help with loans. And all of these things, as I would look at it, not as a woman or an artisan inspired thing, but as a small business. And if you're looking at small business, it's very, very important that we be able to support them financially too.
Thank you.
As a small industries minister, we used to do these.
Yes.
But I think that it's something that perhaps if you people will work together, I mean, if Flow works with us, then maybe people like me, maybe people like Latika ji, and a few of us could all work together online like this, and then be able to speak to government and see whether we could, work with them to bad loans or to have their payments made on time, because a lot of them have delayed payment issues also. So that payments made on time, to see that the quality is done properly, and what kind of financial supports actually can be asked from government and given to them from banks.
Thank you. Thank you. Is there anyone from Creative Dignity who would like to ask a question? Or I have another chair waiting to speak with Vasundhara ji. In that case, would Dharitri like to come on? Dharitri Patnaik, she's from Orissa, Vasundhara ji. She's our Flow chapter chair, Orissa.
Oh, how nice.
Namaste. It was lovely listening to you. And you've been always very inspirational for people like me who's always thought of joining politics, and I take 10 steps backward.
Yeah.
And you very rightly talked about the vilification, and it happens in all sectors whenever a woman does something and achieves anything. So it's never about a woman doing it because of her credibility, of her whatever substance she has. My question is a bit different. It's not about, like we have forums now and this great campaign and volunteers, dedicated volunteers of Creative Dignity, and Flow's this whole idea by our president to make the invisible artisans visible. But there are also a lot of performing artists who've not been able to find a way out in this pandemic. They're suffering a lot. And there are performing artists from every state. And this has been one of the worst situations they have to face and have to, literally go hungry. So any ideas, anything that you are doing in your state or helping them out so we can learn and replicate?
Well, we worked with textiles. And, first of all, let me say how nice it is to talk to you, Anita. It's so good to meet with so many concerned ladies. I'm sorry, but your face has just gone off the screen, sadly.
Okay, can you see me now?
Yeah, now, because it was a very pretty face. So I wanted to just say, basically, we worked with textiles and we worked with artists. We worked with tribal art, that kind of thing. We worked with their sculpture, again, tribal. That we worked with khadi and that. But even as far as artists are concerned, I mean, I would imagine that street plays for those poor people, we did things like street plays. And they were, again, we supported, government supported. Because there was a group of, let's say, we would have a function where, let's say, 5 or 6 or 8 groups would come, and then you choose 2 or 3. I'm just making it small. Choose 2 or 3 and allow those 2 or 3 to, go to whichever areas you wanted them to. And at that point in time, you would support them. That they would have traveling fees, they would have a certain amount of money to be able to live on. And we gave them time periods of something like 3 to 6 months where they were able to travel, and then they were able to rotate that. So 6 groups were able to do it now, and then 6 groups would do it again after them, and then 6 groups would do it again after them, so that they were given that kind of time period. And they were also given a storyline. So it could be teaching girl children. It could be sports. It could be going towards music. Though it could be how to stand on your own 2 feet. It was those kind of programs that they would do for the government. Then at that point in time, the government would support them. So it's just one way of doing it, because otherwise, when on a normal day, they don't really require it, because they go out into the streets or they have their plays and people pay either ticket or they pay to come even at the street play. But these were the kind of initiatives that we did when we were in government.
Thank you very much.
We also did things like the music festival in Udaipur. It became a world music festival. People came from all over, but our people were also allowed to showcase their music at that particular. So it could be tribal music, it could be any kind of music which was local to or it could be something more sophisticated. But government was able to come in by supporting the festival itself. And it also came in by giving them a line and giving them a job. So in this period of time, while they were not having too much to do, they could go out. But we did it when there was no pandemic. Now there's a pandemic. I don't know what exactly they're doing.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, to have them to showcase their talents in an online digital world, it's going to be a challenge. So like we have these artists, so we could, I mean, their product, their performance.
No, but for that, I'll have to tell you that they will have to do the government will have to take out a channel, a digital thing for just for them, and then allow them to use that channel. If I'm looking at government, but it can be done by other people also. It can be done by, say, Doordarshan. It can be done by others. No?
Everyone is involved here.
Yeah, everybody can do it.
Everyone is involved.
Even Faith Singh of Anokhi, she did it for the performing artists. There was a special festival that was held online.
Yes, so it has to be done like that online. So
yeah.
like Vicky, like Flo can do it.
Yes.
You do it. It can be supported by everybody, just like the Rajasthan, festival that we do for books.
Right.
Yeah.
The Jaipur Literature Festival, except that was on the ground actually, but you could do all of this online and give them the opportunity. Government can do it, you can do it, radios can do it, televisions can do it.
And you did it in Jaypore also.
Yeah, we did it in Jaypore also. That's right.
Yeah.
Maybe Rajasthan Foundation also can be pitched in, and then they can do it, because Rajasthan Foundation also supports. So
now I think they will also come up with something new, because up to now it was always. Here now you can't meet and talk to people. That's the problem.
Right. Do you have time for some more questions, or do we have to let you go?
Yeah, just another question, because then I'll have to leave.
Okay. There one more question. I think Meenal Jain has also got her hand raised. Meenal?
Can I ask a question? Yeah. Thank you so much. Vasundhara ji, it's so nice to see you and meet you virtually. By the way, I like the painting and the frame behind. Me being an architect.
That's my mother, not
Okay. And I loved your ring also. My question to you is, when we get back to you back in Jaipur, being the CM of Rajasthan, how we can have tourism, declared as how Jaipur can, sustain it and make it a world-class thing, and tourism and artisans can, correlated each and every tourist spot can be designed and restored in such a way that becomes the highlight. So it becomes, we have tourism season the whole year around instead of just 4 months, 5 months.
Minal,
Yeah.
first of all, that's the reason why it's so you're on a women's thing. You've noticed my ring and you've noticed my mother at the back. But I have to also tell you that yes, this was a program we started because I believe that tourism is a huge, employer. So it gives you huge opportunities and lots of fields it touches. So we had thought of that and made that as one of our major planks when we came to government in the first instance. The idea was to first give every sambhag, that we have 7 sambhags in our state. So every sambhag got a festival. And we worked on each of these festivals differently and allowed a group of people to take over those festivals so that they could work to get the people from that area to actually showcase whatever the best they had. So somewhere there was music, somewhere there was heritage, somewhere there was textile, somewhere there was books. That kind of thing happened all over. Now, after that, also Jaipur became an art city. You remember at one point in time when the tribals descended on Jaipur, we asked them to spend 15 days painting whatever they felt like painting, and then they put them on huge billboards all around the city of Jaipur.
Right.
And we
Even
told
the
them
bridges
that,
are painted.
Yeah, that the whole city became the museum. And if you remember, we also painted all the stations so that your coming to Jaipur would be an experience. It's things like that that you need to get these things moving. People want to come to Jaipur. What happened?
You unmute yourself, please.
So what happened at the end of it? Restaurants suddenly opened. You may have noticed. Places like JKK became flourishing because music started happening there. Lots of other things happened, which we had not imagined. And people started coming in plane loads for the season. And as people started coming in, new ideas began flourishing. Magazines started coming out about what was going to happen during the season. I remember the last dispensation, we brought in Time Out. This time we weren't able to do that. But Time Out we brought out so that people could just see what was happening. And like that, other people could come with publications. So it's things like that. And because it's such a employer, then everybody joined in. You know that in Jaipur, your Jaipur Jewelry Festival has gone through the roof. It was a small thing started by Rashmi ji at one time, but today look where it has got. So everything, even that has generated a huge amount of tourism. But for that, you have to keep working. You cannot give it a break. Like now with the pandemic, everything is stopped. No flights coming in, no people coming in, no way to communicate with each other. A whole new ecosystem will have to be worked upon.
Introduced, yeah.
Something new will have to happen. Because we had with Dravyavati Nadi happening, with all the things happening on the side of the river, with the new gardens coming up, with the new restaurants coming up, it was going to be a really rocking area. But again, all of that through this pandemic has come to a halt. So let's hope that this doesn't last very long and we're able to get back on our feet. Otherwise, as I said, a whole new system will have to be developed.
True. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mina.
Very much for that, Vasundhara ji. Well, I'm happy that we spoke about tourism, because that's the industry where I come from. And everywhere it's...
I would like to
mention...
yes. Alka?
Yeah. I was saying something because of this tourism. There was a religious tourism at Vasundhara ma'am's time. I think all the religious places actually got the upliftment, and everything got very, very streamlined and beautiful and clean. So I just wanted to add that too.
Yeah, that was another area. Because that's local. All the Bengali families, all the Gujarati families, the Rajasthani families, everybody goes, to various temples across the various states. So this was a very interesting thing that happened because lots of people came. That tourism also picked up because of the temples.
Yes.
And it just renovation of the temples made that kind of difference. So, I think there's just such a lot to do, and I hope this pandemic finishes quickly.
Yes. You know, I do think, Vasundhara ji, that we have to be hopeful and optimistic. And I think we from Flow have tried to convert this crisis into an opportunity. And done the best we can. Because coming as I do from the tourism industry of Assam, we are, we are all trying to work in travel bubbles and work on training our people now on the new SOPs in place, and waiting till we can get back on our feet. So we should say that if you can't, the fishermen can't go out to sea, they repair their nets. Which right now we are all trying to do. So may I thank you on behalf of all of us in Flow and Creative Dignity for having honored us with your presence on this inauguration of our effort to work towards promoting and handholding distressed artisans. We would like to be champions of change, like you've mentioned. And I would like to leave you with a point that from Flow this year, we've gone ahead to adopt a village in each of our chapters. And we've adopted an ITI in each of the chapters. Be happy
That's
to
terrific.
do. Yes, so yesterday we had our first batch of 1,000 students we trained in the ITIs. So this was with the help of all our chapters, which I call them One Flow. So those are the things we can take forward. And the fact that Flow has signed a MOU with the Ministry of Tourism, and they've taken cognizance of the fact that it's time for the women now. We've been 49% of 1.3 billion, we are 49%, and we should make ourselves heard, and we should make our presence felt in every stream. You can't do without the woman. It's time she got her due recognition. So with that, I would reach out to you every time for your support and guidance. And we look forward to how we can learn more from you and work together. And in this, let me thank Creative Dignity for partnering with us today, Meera Goradia and your team for this work. Thanks to Latika Khosla for being with us. My thanks to past President Neeta Bushra, and my thanks to Alka Batra for having organized this meeting with our chief guest today. And we must let you go now, but I want to thank you from all of us for this learning and for your blessings to make this humble effort and really be able to touch lives and make a difference.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be here with all the gracious ladies of Flow. And I was not able to talk to Latika ji, but I hope that we'll be able to connect at some point because there's a very, very good initiative that is happening there. Yeah. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Namaste.
Congratulations, Janvi.
How was it, Neetaji? All good?
People, thank you for a very powerful session with a wonderful champion. It just blew our mind away how you got the right person to fight in your corner. So thank you.
Latika ji, you were awesome. The whole जो दिल से जो आपने उद्गार बोले हैं अपने बहुत ही.
So thank you so much, everybody, on behalf of Creative Dignity. It's a huge movement. You will see another face another time, and everyone's a volunteer. So I'll leave, and I really, all the platforms have gone live, and we are so excited that for the next 3 months through this festive season, Fiki Flow will be such a backbone to Creative Dignity. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Wonderful, Latika ji.
Bye. Thank you so much, everybody. See you all.
Alka, are there guests? More? Janvi, have you left?
I think, yeah, everybody left. I think Nita ji सब चले गए.
चलिए तो अपन स्मृति को हेलो बोल लेते हैं, कलोनी को बोल लेते हैं, रेणु जी को बोल लेते हैं. हाय स्मृति, how are you? How's the account?
Very good. How are you? How are you?
What's happening?
I was seeing everybody so nicely dressed on the thing. ऐसे मैं ऐसे भंगियों की तरह बैठी हुई हूँ, मैं बिल्कुल ही ऑफ कर देती हूँ.
आप तो ऐसे ही सुंदर लगती हो. हम बोले थोड़ी लखनऊ में क्या लग रही थी दीवा. That evening, who's this female?
Hi, Smriti.
I wish.
सिर्फ यही बोलूंगी that. Memory is very good, and I have a very picturesque memory.
That's true. We just hope that those
Vandana,
come back.
you done a great job.
Yeah. Now we're at least waiting for the online shopping to start.
Thank you.
Hi Renuka ji.
How are you?
तुम छुपी हो कहाँ?
अब फोटो के पीछे.
और इतना सुंदर क्या ओढ़ रखा, ये शॉल हमको भी चाहिए.
ये साड़ी है, मैं साड़ी आपको इस आर्टिसन का नाम बता दूंगी, आप इसको एनरोल कर लो अपने गुजरात के उसमें. ठीक है.
Very pretty what you want.
Very. She always wears very pretty things and she carries it. But
thank you so much.
I don't know.
Thank you. Lovely program.
Yeah, and you know the right person to launch it and the right intentions, because actually मैं बहुत artisans सब बड़े परेशानी से.
Trust me, ask about UP. I had got 3-4 documentaries made and they are such in pathetic state now I can't tell.